Okay, so Elsie.
Yes,
thank you for agreeing to
no, my pleasure.
To step into this conversation with me. I'm a little bit nervous because so we'll see what you've got to ask me.
I mean, as we all know, we're here to talk about leadership, but also about well-being. And oftentimes, I think for those of us that are, running the fort or healing or looking after people, there's that question of who heals the healers or who, supports the supporters. And I think oftentimes, especially working in community contexts like that intersects with our families or our personal lives or our local areas, it's often quite easy to forget and neglect your own personal well-being whilst trying to carry the well-being of your family or your community or the next generation or whatever it may be. And so, I feel really blessed to be hosting this conversation with Yvonne, who all of you should know Yvonne at this point, but who has over 40 years experience of championing racial justice all over the country, different parts of the world, and just kind of explore for you what it means to lead with such purpose and integrity, such a massive organization that's doing, I think, when I think of Ubele, it goes back to that saying of, we little but we tell our, because really and truly, the team is actually quite intimate when I think about it. But you're having impacts, across not only the UK but across the world also, because I know there's a few projects that you run globally in Kenya, etc. And so it'd be really interesting to kind of like hear your perspective of, how you manage your own well-being whilst essentially managing, global teams, let's call it, and so many people that are constantly pulling for your attention or pulling for your sign-off on things. How do you manage your own well-being whilst holding so much?
I think that the question of well-being, given that I've been involved in this work for 45 years, wasn't really a term that we kind of even explored. It wasn't something that we talked about. You just got on and did the work. And maybe one would find spaces and places to have conversations about how one was feeling, but it wasn't centered. It wasn't, in a sense, it was often seen as, I think, in my experience, a weakness to say that, I'm not feeling well today, or I just can't cope, or I need support. And I think about the women, and I'm talking about women because, a very dear friend of mine who passed away a couple of years ago, he was South African, and he sort of spoke to me often about women's leadership in Soweto, where he was from, and he said that he told me, and I believe, that women hold the blade in communities. They hold the sharp end, and so it wasn't a sort of term that I kind of was very familiar with, and the women that I stand on the shoulders of, those women who some have passed, many have passed, but are 80 and 90 years old and so on. I sort of, used to walk around and, follow them around, just trying to get a bit of their glitter, as I said, in terms of trying to think about what might rub off on me from what they did. But really, it wasn't, a kind of, we didn't actually talk about well-being, but I would notice them caring for people in their community by maybe sort of inviting them to their homes or kind of reaching out and offering them support and so on. For me personally, I think well-being has been something that I've really tried and started to take notice of in the last few years. I think the years of COVID, the COVID year, the first year, when so much was happening, both in terms of my own family, my youngest brother, who's actually since passed away, he was actually in hospital in the first wave of COVID on a ventilator and never really recovered from that. And then my eldest brother passed away a year after he did, from lung cancer, having had 2 bouts of COVID, thinking it was still COVID, but it actually turned out to be lung cancer. And he had a diagnosis that he would live just for a year, and he did, and then he passed away. So we had two deaths after not having death in our family since my mother passed in 2011, and not having had death in our family before that for 30 years. So all of a sudden we found ourselves in the midst of quite a lot of family chaos, and having to deal with things that we'd never really dealt with before, that I realised that actually and I know it's a cliche, but life is quite short. It can be unexpectedly short. So many people lost people during COVID that they hadn't expected to lose, in the way that was had to be dealt with, you know, sort of very clinically, 6 people, 10 people. It was, and we still processing, I think, a lot of that. It kind of certainly sits with me, what we had to go through. So I suppose what since then, I've really come to appreciate life. I've come to appreciate that I need to spend more time thinking about myself, because I do spend a lot of time thinking about others. I have to be honest, I'm driven by purpose and I love what I do, and I feel really that I feel really grateful that I've been able to do what I've wanted to do in the world. I always wanted to work with communities. Originally I wanted to teach, and then I wanted to do social work. I've not done either of those directly, but I've done community education, and of course I've done a lot of working with communities. So I've done those in a roundabout sort of way. But the things that I've tried to do, and actually I think have been quite successful at doing, I think. I learned to swim in the last couple of years. I mean, I had a real fear of going underwater. I could swim, but I couldn't go under and feel confident. So I went off for one-to-one lessons and feel that I can, I feel much more water confident. I've actually found, just last year actually, Ayurvedic treatments, Ayurvedic Indian ways of eating and looking after yourself. And so I took myself off to India in January for 12 days, went on a retreat, and it was life-changing. It was amazing experience. I just sometimes stay in bed. Surprise, surprise. I might send text messages from them, Philip. He knows that. Like, oh, what's you up to now? But I do actually, I actually just sometimes say, I cannot do this. I don't want to do it. I just want to rest. And I also like watching Netflix series and vegging out on the TV on a Saturday night. So I like to do those things. And I am quite a playful person. I mean, I know I work incredibly hard, but I like to play. So I'll always, do nice things. Dancing, theatre, cinema, eating out, of course travel, but I like to play. And when people see that side of me, they go, I thought you were just serious. I'm not. I'm a very playful person as well. So come play with me, please. I'll be open to that.
Thank you. And I think what I really liked about what you shared is the importance of finding actually what personally excites you as a person. Because I think, again, being in a position of leadership, it's quite easy to feel like there's a constant need to show up, produce, be responsible, et cetera, et cetera. And oftentimes, again, through the pursuit of, legacy, we forget what actually excites us, or our inner child, or our inner person, whether it be swimming or dancing or, I don't know, dominoes, or whatever it may be. And so it'd be good to kind of understand how you set those boundaries between Yvonne as the person versus Yvonne as the leader.
Good question. Gosh, you got some good questions for me, Elsie. So I think I have a daughter. She's age 31 now. And when she was growing up, and if she were here with me, and she'd say, Mum, can I tell them this? So I'm telling this on her behalf. She really often challenged me about the amount of time I spent with her, because I was out saving the world. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I'm the only one in the social economy. My family are caterers, sort of artisan space, so carpenters, plumbers, photographers, dressmakers. But out of the 10 of us, 8 of us have had our own businesses or have our own businesses. And then that's gone intergenerationally as well. So my daughter and nieces and nephews, they run their own businesses. So we are really quite driven, because if you've got your own business, then I mean, you're good, you have to make your own money. But my daughter would say that, that because before Ubele, I had a consultancy company, management consultancy training company for many, many years, which I set up and grew. And she was quite small. She was 2 when I started that business. I also taught at the same time in academia at Goldsmiths. So I had this sort of dual, kind of life. And I did that again when I set up Ubele, I went back to Goldsmiths, it just happened. Things are kind of can go full circle. So she would say that, and quite rightly, that I was busy. I was a single mother at quite not a young age. I was married and then I got divorced, so I had a small child and I was a single mother then. So the boundaries. I think also, though, I had my daughter when I was in my early 30s, so I was Auntie Yvonne to a number of children in my family and godchildren and so on. So I think I'm quite good at, although the work does come in at times, because you're running a business, you're running your own thing, but also I am quite good at family time. I like to do things with the younger generation. Like, for example, I took out my nieces who are nearly 40 with their children and my daughter. We went to the museum during half term, we go to the seaside, we do things. So I kind of like those kinds of things with family and extended family, like godchildren and my sister friends who have known me for 40 years or 30 years are now my family as well. I think that there also has been some blurring between work and domestic life, because actually some of my friendships have come out of my work. So I was part of a phenomenal group of black women youth workers in the 80s called OBE, which means woman. And those women are now my daughter's aunties because they're all in their 60s and 70s. So we kind of move between work and domestic life quite naturally as we built those friendships. I think not only my daughter, but some of my other family members would also think that I work a bit too much and that I need to separate some of it. And when people are ringing me up at a Saturday night to ask about blah, and I'm like, I don't recognise the number, should I answer it? What are they asking for? And I say, actually, it's Saturday evening. Can I speak to you on Monday afternoon? Then that gets a bit challenging. But yeah, it's a constant balance, really. It's a constant, and sometimes it does blur and get a bit challenging. Because my work is so much part of my life, and as I said, it's what I always wanted to do. So I have to also be quite strict with myself. Sometimes I say, you're not going to look at your emails, you're not going to do this. Actually, just be Yvonne, you know, and enjoy the rest of your life, kind of thing, the wider parts of your life. So
Thank you. I think, what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of need for intentionality around well-being, and a need to be intentional about setting those times aside, or intentional about, making the effort to organise family trips out, etc. And I think for our own personal lives, again, it's about, are we taking our Saturdays off? Are we spending the morning, reflecting, etc., creating those intentional times for well-being? And I think with that comes a level of systems, creating systems that allow for well-being. And so in our personal lives, we can create systems, whether it be rituals, such as prayer, morning meditations, whatever it may be. However, how does that translate for you in the business realm? Because I know with Ubele, there's quite a lot of things that Ubele does to create systems of well-being, whether it be in the kind of philosophy, such as the Ubele way, or the team days where there's retreats and stuff. So for you, how have you managed to craft well-being into the thread that runs through Ubele's organizational systems, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, sure. I think that Ubele is about the people. Yeah, it's about the people. And I think as people have come into Ubele, that they have introduced and asked for and established ways of being, and that's still unfolding. So, it's really a kind of strange story, but in December 2019, we had one full-time member of staff in Ubele, one in December 2019. We didn't have any core costs, we were project-based. We were actually project-based until 2022. We only got core costs in 2022 through the lottery. So we've been quite an unstable, like many organisations are unstable, and we still, are still trying to kind of put systems and processes in place to stabilise us as we kind of become, more recognised for the work we do, and then more funding coming in. However, we are a black-led organisation, so we'll also like to play. I think we're quite playful in the way that we interact. People say, oh, actually it feels a bit different here. And that's because I think there's space for people to be themselves. We like food. In fact, no, we love food. We love food. So we always find ways to have food and gatherings and music in Ubele, in different ways. And more people coming in, they bring that kind of practice. We also, the health and wellbeing group that we've got, company we've got here, we've used them a number of times now. They are amazing women. Is it the women we've got today? Yeah, who provide therapies, and we've built that into our planning weeks and staff meetings, and at the end of some staff meetings or big gatherings and so on. And then we have had retreats in the past with staff. And then we did a really lovely day to Kew Gardens a couple of weeks ago. There were 45 or so of us that went. And again, we had lots of food and games and things. And then obviously just enjoying Kew Gardens. So I think we're on a journey. We're not there yet because I said we're still a growing organisation in terms of being secure. I'm not saying we're going to get much, much bigger, but just in terms of becoming sustainable longer term. We're still really on that journey. But I think, and also with younger people like yourselves and others saying, actually, well-being. And Philip also talking to me personally, whispers in my ear, come to the gym, go swimming, eat properly. And I'm like, yes, okay, Philip, I'm listening to you. He does constantly ask me what I'm doing and just take care of myself. So that's really important messaging. And we just need to kind of keep building that in.
Thank you. And then kind of like drawing on from the point around, how much the team contributes to the overall structure and systems created around wellbeing. Obviously here for Agbero2100, this is a group of community leaders all coming together, hopefully to improve our overall capacity and contribution to life in the UK, but also beyond. How does community and intergenerational support systems, how can that also contribute to creating a sense of well-being, not only for ourselves, but across everything that everyone is doing? And this is our final question.
Okay, gosh. Okay, so, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. Yeah, Amanda, thank you. Amanda sort of mentioned stepping back, coming out of the WhatsApp group. I need to come out of our WhatsApp group, Amanda, because I make too much noise in there. Okay? I make far too much noise in there, so I'm going to take that tip from you, okay? Seriously. And I think you talk about intergenerational, and for me there's something about how do we start as older leaders, I'm talking about myself, but also younger older leaders and older leaders, start to think about succession and transition. And it's a huge issue. It's a scary question. It's a scary issue. You think, I want to be in this, I want to be doing this, but actually we need to make time and space and opportunities for younger leaders to come through. So I've spent the last year thinking quite consciously about that and what that means for me, as I sort of think about, well, what else do I want to do in the world? Yeah, maybe work related, may not be, and it could be a combination of those two things. But actually, we've started having conversations, intergenerational conversations with women leaders through CANRO. That's an initiative we're just beginning to kind of develop, because, the intergenerational spaces can be quite scary for both parties, I think, because actually there's issues of power in those spaces, power dynamics. There's things for certainly me to consider about longevity, also given that I've experienced quite a lot of death in the last couple of years. There's also sort of feelings of, well, what do I do with my feelings of purpose? And, am I going to be then just, kind of sidelined? All those sort of things come up amongst others. But I think that's really important work for us to do. And I think some of the issues that we've had in our communities and facing around community spaces is because we've not had those conversations, and not real kind of tough conversations. But actually we're also talking about how do we build trust between generations, because I know that with the younger people, even in my family, when I'm around them, I'm like soaking up so much, and I'm feeling also sort of consciously incompetent. I don't understand what they're kind of talking about. I'm on a massive learning curve, and I'm like, I can feel really sort of just not knowing what's happening, because they're in the language, their ways of being, the use of the internet and social media, and all the things that their aspirations and so on are very different to what I experience. So there is a real need for that space, and I can see it becoming even more urgent in the leadership space, because actually we need to make sure that we have deep roots here, even though we're diaspora and we have roots of other places, but the roots we build here need to be deep. Because actually, I usually look at my family as a case in point. I'm now 4th generation. I was aware of what you said, Claude, about Windrush, and how do we then, I was born here, 1st generation, how do we then, how do we understand our own experience if it's not through some kind of collective sense of being? And if Windrush is that, then that gives us that. And one of the things that Philip and I drafted years ago, 2015, You're still doing it. Children of Windrush. Because also something about our stories, not just our parents' stories, but our stories as well. Because, you know, being first generation from any community does bring a particular dynamic and experience that is unique. And then it gets built on when the other generations come into being. So yeah, I think the intergenerational piece is big, it's needed. It's a space that we need to create. I think we need to create a space for older leaders and younger leaders and then bring them together. I think bringing them together, we've done some of that, haven't we, Serena? But I think I've been thinking about this over the last year about like how do we really craft this. So I'm open to that. Conversations about that. We want to design something. And actually, just one last thing I'd say is when I looked at the group, everyone here, and I thought actually there's pure potential here for something quite significant and magnificent to happen as a community. Like, what might that be? You know, when we leave here tomorrow, I don't know, but I just felt a real deep sense of collective power and collective possibility in this room today. So thank you again for being here. And thank you, Elsie.
Thank you so much. Okay. Just.
I'm not going to ask a question, but for those of us who know, the word Agbero, it's not seen as problem, it's not seen as a very positive.
I know it's not. I know.
Right here in the UK, and a lot of us suffer stereotype. The fact that you are black, they say, you must be an Agbero. You play your music, you are dancing, you are behaving like an Agbero. So what I'm trying to say in this sense is that let us see the positivity in the word.
I did.
Self-belief, believe in yourself is what you have to offer society. Create a legacy for yourself. Create a bond amongst your generation and those below you, and those around you. That's what I'm saying. Self-belief, self-confidence, do what is right, and go ahead and project yourself in the right life. Forget the derogatory connotation of the word Agbero. Let us transmit it to positive connotation.
Okay, can I come back to you about that? Because it's come up a number of times. Okay, so Agbero in Yoruba, I understand, also means sustainability. So my daughter is half Yoruba, my former husband is Yoruba, my sister, who I checked it out with, her husband is Yoruba. She lived in Nigeria for 38 years. So we've taken it, and actually we've kind of looked at this quite deeply, because the word has been used to look at some of the qualities of the person who is an Agbero. So do you want to talk about some of the...
Is that a white person who acts as a coconut?
No. Do you want to talk about some of the qualities? We'll come back to that. No. Do you want to say some of the qualities? Or should...
Yvonne, run out of time.
Sorry? Okay, run out of time. Okay. Yes, one of the qualities is resilience, absolutely. So from what I understand, the Agbero often are men, but who would control the buses. Yes. So this whole thing about sort of being, actually working on your laurels, working from a place of, sort of using your whims and ways of knowing and sort of entrepreneurship, being very sort of wily and creative to achieve your ends. So that's why we chose Agbero. It's not, I think I know the word that you're talking about as well. That yes, no, it means white person. Yes, no, in certain words, in certain countries in Africa in particular. So it was about the essence of the person. So that as community leaders, you are drawing from very little resource that you're given to create something and to achieve your ends. And it's entrepreneurship, and it's being wily, resilient, and so on. So we've flipped it. There is a definition and a description on the website about why we've used it, but we've heard the challenge very often, so we come back with why we chose it. But it also means sustainability. Okay.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us and being part of the conversation. You have the next today and tomorrow to really spend time connecting with each other and hopefully speaking about how you can offer support to one another, but also contribute to more ideas about how collectively we can work on something that is shared for the shared benefit. Just to say before I go, all of you guys will be receiving one of these as a gift tomorrow. And so to end the conversation, so these are affirmation cards based on, Ghanaian.
Elsie produced them.
Just to end it.
Elsie produced them as well.
And so to end the conversation, would you like to pick a card that we can use as an affirmation for the day?
Okay,
To end
thank
the
you.
conversation.
And these were produced by Elsie, the cards were, so they're amazing. Thank you.
So should I read it?
Yeah, do you want to? Yeah.
So the affirmation is, we as a collective are able to dynamically use our initiative and our versatility and the different things that everyone contributes here in this space to flow harmoniously and to connect and to create things that are for our legacy and for the future.
Agbero.
Agbero.